It really looks stylish, we can say. From the outside, you can check out, okay, it's got a very attractive exterior design. Then it's also got a robust body, a large cabin space for passenger comfort, and superior suspension and chassis, right? So with all these features, the e-alfa Mini scores highly over its competitors. Now, there are a lot of electric vehicles or a lot of electric rickshaws available in small towns which are flying already. It's like it's not like these vehicles don't exist. Now a lot of that would not be like from the organized sector. So when Mahindra is launching an e-rickshaw, it's really gonna make it a lot more say organized and a lot more interesting. So that it's gonna be used by a lot of people in like a lot of small towns, we can say. All right. So and when it comes to electric vehicles, there are more points which we actually come across. So like in India, Mahindra has been the pioneer of electric vehicles, right, and integrated mobility solutions. So we are aware of our products, right, like the e-Verito, then like the e-2O, then the e-Supro. We have been like talking about all these electric vehicles over a period of time. So when it comes to electric vehicles, Mahindra's goal from the very beginning has been, you can say, to make it more accessible and best suited for Indian conditions. So which is really important. Now it's like electric vehicles are a global phenomenon. Okay, so obviously when it comes to electric vehicles in India, it has to be like catering to Indian conditions, Indian road conditions, Indian way of traveling, all those things. So things are very different over here. So we can say the launch of e-alfa Mini is yet another step to provide an emission-free green mode of safe intra-city transportation in the country. So which is why a lot of people would be like checking out into these kind of products like very closely. All right. Now there is one more thing when it comes to electric vehicles which we need to discuss. You must be aware of Government of India's plan or their mission to ensure that we have maximum electric vehicles on the roads of India by say 2030, and we can say Mahindra is like very much aligned to that vision. In short, there is a technological shift which is happening, which we are aware of. That is the shift towards electric vehicles, which we all are witnessing. All right. And that is what this launch is all about. So we're going to be talking about the electric rickshaws. Some rickshaws were already there, but this is like the electric one. So that is what makes it a lot more interesting. All right. Let's check out some technical specifications, like what all points like go important when it comes to the e-rickshaw or the e-alfa Mini. First thing is all about like the top speed numbers. So now the top speed for the e-alfa Mini is 25 km per hour. All right. So now this is like a vehicle which is meant to say drop the person from point A to point B. So from the metro station to his home, or like from the bus station to his nearby area, if the person is like taking a ride. So that is what this segment is all about. So the speed of the vehicle is like not a big thing over here. Anyways, the other rickshaws which are available from the competition, so they all are into like the same speed limits, like around 25 to 30 kilometers. That is what the speed is all about. So e-alfa Mini, the top speed is 25 kmph. Then we know it's an electric rickshaw. So the question would be, okay, it would have batteries, and how many batteries it has? It has 4 batteries, which would make it 48 volts, all right, and 120 ampere hour. You can say 12 volt battery each, so that would make it say 48, all right. And when it comes to electric vehicles, questions like how much charging time it would require. So for the e-alfa Mini, it is 12 hours. So in short, anybody who's like getting done by 8 or 8:30, okay, like in the night time, he puts his vehicle for charging, and he can simply charge it overnight. And like morning when he basically like goes for his regular business with his vehicle, things should be well set. And most of these places where the electric rickshaws are flying, so the pattern would be like the guys go out with their vehicle for their business, and ultimately like in the afternoon slot they would come home for lunch, and that is the time they would like utilize it for a brief session of charging again, and they would go back say with their regular business again. So that has been the consistent pattern. So in short, overnight charge is like the norm which would apply over here. Then it's got the BLDC motor, So now the motor power is how much it is? 1000 watts. Okay, so those are your magic numbers for you. Then more specifics, okay, like if you look into, so like what's the kind of transaxle, how many variants we have for this vehicle. It comes in, say, the normal variant, and say the other is high torque variant. Okay, so the gear ratios would be different for the normal variant. So it's like having the gear ratio of 10:1. And for the high torque, that means, like you have another gear available when it comes to going up the hill and those kind of scenarios. So where more torque is required, so the gear ratio is different over there. That is 21:1. All right. So the torque, okay, which is like available for the normal variant of e-alfa mini, that is 30.9 Newton meters. And for the high torque, that it's got more pulling power. You can say it's having around, say, 78.2 Newton meters. The pattern would be, there would be a driver, there would be 4 passengers sitting, and like, they would be simply the guy who will be driving this vehicle, he will be ferrying people from point A to point B. So it is sufficient, all right, like way too good when it comes to comparison with other variants of with other manufacturers, we can say. All right, now you can check out the vehicle exterior. So how the e-alfa mini looks from the outside and from the inside. The thing is, like, the wheelbase of this vehicle is around 2168, all right, and the length is 2750. The rear track is 875 mm. So the front track is not applicable. Okay, it's having only one wheel in the front, all right. And the important number over here is, what is the range for the e-alfa mini? It's an electric vehicle, electric rickshaw. So for how many kilometers can a person like drive, okay, like at one go? So it would be 85 kilometers, all right. So it's like a very, very good range for a rickshaw, we can say, which is electric. And the gross vehicle weight is 758 kgs, okay. So the this is for the normal variant, and there is one more, the high torque variant, where you have like the additional gear available. So that would be 4 kgs more. So it's around, say, 762 kgs. All right. So I hope you must have checked out the length, width, height and the wheelbase. All right. So anybody who has already driven the e-alfa mini, they would have, or they would share one common opinion, that this vehicle is actually very stable when it comes to, taking turns at around 20-22 km per hour, or even say 25 km per hour. You're taking, like turns. It's like you would find all 3 wheels planted on the road surface. So there is at no point you get the feeling like, all right, like, there is lack of stability or anything of that sort. So which is like good. All right, let's move ahead. Now we'll check out the vehicle interiors. You can check out the passenger cabin, you can check out the driver cabin, the interiors. All right, so it's like pretty much clean and very spacious. You know how people basically, like, ride in rickshaws in India. So anybody who wants to sit anywhere, there is like sufficient leg room, and like it is pretty much straight when it comes to the seating arrangement. All right, so like so the people would be facing each other in the passenger cabin, and they would still be comfortable. All right, what is seating capacity? It is like 4 passengers plus 1 driver. Let's move ahead. Now you can again go through the list of vehicle components in the e-alfa mini. So you can see the instrument cluster on the first place. So like a lot of information would be made available on the display for the person who would be driving this e-rickshaw. All right, it's got an ignition switch, it's got DC to DC converter, it's got, say, like 4 batteries, then it's having the BLDC motor, it's having a transaxle, then a controller for the BLDC motor, then it's having, say, the throttle, then with the drive mode. So you have the accelerator basically, like, on the steering. Then we'll talk about all these points in details in the coming slides. All right, a lot of things we're going to be discussing. Just like keep a check on, okay, like how the session is going to shape up. So this is just like the initial inputs for us to, say, go through. Now it's an electric rickshaw, so the first question would be, how does the power flow? Now it's having all these components we just went through. So when it comes to me charging the vehicle, how does it basically get charged? And when it comes to the person driving the vehicle, like what makes like the motor run, all those things. So we can just check that closely now. So in short, when you plug the charger plug, okay, when you plug the charger plug to the wall socket, 230 volts of AC current flows say via the charger. Okay, so you have the charger which has got the AC to DC converter. Okay, so the AC to DC converter converts 230 volts of AC current to 48 volts DC current. All right, so it's like steps down the current, you can say. So and then the current goes to the 4 lead acid batteries. Okay, then as I said, the 4 batteries, they are of say 12 volts each, which makes it say 48 volts like when put together. So once you have the charge in the batteries of what happens next? So from the lead acid batteries, 48 volts of say DC current goes to the BLDC controller. So that's the BLDC controller for you. So which has got an inverter. All right. So the BLDC controller houses an inverter. So now what's the role of an inverter? It basically would convert the DC current to AC current. So 48 volt DC current would get converted to 48 volts AC current. All right, this is important. So after that happens, that AC current or 48 volt AC current would be fed to the 3-phase BLDC motor. All right, that's how the BLDC motor gets powered. In short, you have the AC current, which is say powering the 3-phase BLDC motor. And then we have the motor running at full speed. Simple. So now this was say one part of the flow. All right, and on the left side, if you check out, so what can we see is from the lead acid battery, say 48 volt DC current goes to the DC to DC converter. So the DC to DC converter is doing what it is, in short, stepping down the voltage. All right, so like from 48 volts to 12 volts, it basically is like stepping down too. So then 12 volts DC current would be fed to the various vehicle systems like your horn and your lighting, all that. So that is what is happening over here. Simple. In a nutshell, you can say the person who would be say putting the plug of the charger on his wall socket, and he puts the like button in the on position, and the charging starts happening. What is getting charged? Your battery is getting charged, and then the battery stores current in say the DC format, and that is how like you get to play around, or the system gets to play around. So DC current goes to the BLDC controller, and the BLDC controller has an inverter. It converts it to say AC current or 48 volt AC current, and that is fed to the 3-phase BLDC motor. So I hope we discussed this thing. So it was way too simpler as compared to other vehicles which we have already checked out in our earlier sessions. All right. So let's move ahead. Now we can check out the charging system. All right, like closely. So just can go through it. So where is the charging point in the vehicle? It is just below the driver's seat, you can say, on the left side. That is where you plug in, okay, say your charger plug. You have what all stuff. So now your charger has all these indications, a lot of lamps you have over here. The top one is for the main supply. Then, these are the charging indicators. You have 100%, then like, say greater than 80%, then greater than say 50%, and the last one is say less than 30%. All right. And then there is also a charging on off indicator. So which basically gives the indication as whether the charging is say, like happening or not happening. All right. So when it is like in the on position, the charging on off indicator, so you can note down that the charging is in progress. And say when it is off, in case like the battery is fully charged, auto cutoff would happen, the lamp would simply go off. All right. So that is the indication. And I just told you about the charging indicators, like you have like the percentage wise, like lamps which we can see like easily. So as a person or as a customer, there would not be any separate training required to actually how to play around or like how to get acquainted with all the equipments which is like going to be available for say the e-alfa mini. It's like very, very simple. Say within 5 or 10 minutes, you can brief the person as to how exactly things happen over here or what does it actually mean, how to play around with it. All right. So let's move ahead. So here's the picture of the charger. You can see it over here. Now we can talk about the battery. All right. Who provides the battery? Supplier is Amaron. Okay. So we have lead acid battery. Now we need to be very, very, very clear on this. Like it's a electric vehicle, electric rickshaw, and it's having say batteries. So let's not get carried away with lithium ion. This is not having lithium ion. This is having lead acid battery. So anybody attending the session, I would just say, like, just be aware of this particular point. So let's not get carried away when it comes to looking at other electric cars. Like, all right. So you can simply say it is having the lead acid battery. 4 batteries we have, 12 volts each, 120 ampere hour. All right. So the question comes again, like ampere hour, what exactly is that? To keep it simple, we can say an ampere hour is an unit of electric charge equal to the charge transferred by a steady current of 1 ampere flowing for 1 hour. Right, so that's what your ampere hour is all about. And we keep coming across like the volts terminology. So the voltage range in this particular vehicle is 46 to 52 volts. So what exactly is a volt? If somebody asks, you can simply say volt is the difference of potential that would carry 1 ampere of current against 1 ohm resistance. It's pretty much basic in short. So where exactly is the battery located? So the passenger seat, which is located right behind the driver's seat, if you open it up, you would find the battery chamber. So that's actually like a lockable chamber for batteries. So wherever these vehicles are gonna be parked, obviously these guys, like gonna be staying in the, you can say, the lower strata of the society basically. So like when it comes to safety, it's not like they would get to park their rickshaw outside their homes. They could be parking it somewhere else and they could be staying somewhere else. So safety is a very big concern for people who are going to be buying this particular product. So yes, you can lock the batteries. So it is certainly going to be safe. If your vehicle is safe, your batteries are bound to be safe. That's how we look at it. We can move ahead now. All right. We just discussed like about the DC to DC converter while talking about the power flow. Now we can check out where exactly is the DC to DC converter located. You can just see, all right, like below the driver's seat, you can just see this portion marked. So that is where this DC to DC converter unit is located. All right. So what does it do? It converts 48 volts to 12 volts. Okay. So from the battery, you can say. So it's all about running the various vehicle systems and your vehicle accessories like your lighting system, horn, all those kind of functions. Okay. Which basically would get powered by say 12 volt current. All right. So that's the role of the DC to DC converter. Then initially when we're talking about the vehicle components, we had all these inputs, all right, what all equipments we're going to be actually talking about, or what are parts we're going to be focusing on. Over there, throttle also was mentioned. Okay, so we have throttle with the drive mode. Now I want you to focus, okay, like over here, just below the accelerator of the e-rickshaw, you find these 2 red buttons. So one basically has F and R, printed on it, and the other button has L, M, and H, which is say, written on it. So F stands for front, R stands for reverse. So you know what exactly, would be the function of it. To drive the rickshaw in the front direction, you need to ensure this button is in the F mode. And if you're taking a reverse, right, you simply switch this button to the R mode. All right, so you have the drive mode switch, which is out there. Then also you find the LMH. So L stands for low, M stands for medium, H stands for high. Alright. When it comes to high mode, maximum speed of the e-rickshaw or maximum speed of the e-alfa mini is around say 25 kilometer per hour. Alright. And if you switch to medium mode, okay, so the speed which you will be able to say, derive or able to harness, that would be around 21 kilometer per hour. And if the person selects low mode, that means the max speed would be 16 kmph. So it's just like for the initial 5 or 10 minutes when somebody is like trying to get used to the vehicle, that is when he or she needs to be aware of these parameters. Once they start driving, they exactly would know how to play around with this particular switch. So if you keep it in the M mode, obviously you cannot expect the top speed. So that is where this discussion needs to be done, to brief the people as to what exactly is the meaning of all these terms over here. And when it comes to the F mode and the R mode, the forward mode and the reverse mode, so we know the top speed of this vehicle is 25 kilometer per hour. All right. So in the forward direction, that is the speed which you will be able to get. And then when it comes to reverse, this maximum speed which the e-alfa mini would run at would be 11 kilometer per hour. All right. So which is pretty good. And when it comes to the mode switches, LMH, it is only for forward direction. So in the reverse mode, there is no option of low mode and medium mode and high mode. First of all, 11 kilometer per hour already is like a low speed. Then how low you want to go further? All right. So it's not required, we can say. All right. So let's move ahead. Now we can focus on the instrument cluster. All right. So you have this display which basically has a lot of parameters which is simply going to be in front of the person who will be driving it. So you have these digits, okay, which is 00 over here. That means obviously it's in the standstill condition. That's the speedometer. So whichever speed your e-rickshaw or the e-alfa mini would be run at, you would be able to get that speed. So obviously the max speed which you can check out over here is 25. That's your golden number. Then you have more information available. That is, in this case it says 48.4 volts. So that is the indication of how many volts are actually available. All right. And then you also have the trip meter or the odometer, how many kilometers the car, the vehicle, okay, or the e-rickshaw has actually clocked till date. So that information also is there. Now, what is very important in the instrument cluster is the battery indicator. So as a business guy or as an e-rickshaw driver whose sole purpose is to make money by driving this vehicle. So his major concern would be, all right, what is the health of the battery? So if he were to say decide whether he should take a ride or he should not take a ride, let me accept a ride or refuse a ride, he would make those calls, looking at the battery indicator. It's as easy as that. So the person needs to be aware of what are these bars or what are these bars for? What does it mean? So when you see 4 bars, okay, on the battery indicator, 4 bar means you have 48 to 50 volts available. And if you have 3 bars available, the volts available is in the range of 45 to 48 volts. All right. Then if say only 2 bars available, that means you have 42 to 45 volts available. 1 bar means 42 volts. All right. And if the bars go blinking, that means you have less than 42 volts available for usage. So obviously if the bars go blinking, the person is going to refuse a ride. He doesn't want to get stuck. So charge would be required. All right. So the guys who are into this business, they know this very, very well as to for how many hours they can drive this vehicle, how many kilometers they can drive, and when exactly they need to put the vehicle for charging. So anyways, they ferry people within very short distances, 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, it is in that particular perimeter. Okay. Then you also have You also have the park lamp indicator. Then you have the high beam indicator. These telltales you can check out, right? The left turn indicator, the right turn indicator. All right. So let's move ahead. I hope we've seen this very closely as to what are these bars all about. Now we'll talk about the controller, that means the BLDC controller, okay, which we talked about, while discussing the power flow. So where is this BLDC controller located? In the passenger cabin, the last row seat, you can say, okay. If you open the seat, you would have access for the BLDC controller, all right. So all this is safe again. What does the BLDC controller do? It controls the BLDC motor, all right. It's anyways the brain of the rickshaw, all right. So it's like the most important component which is out there in this vehicle. And you know what's the purpose of this when it comes to like making the power available for the motor. It's a converting the DC voltage to AC voltage. It's got an inverter inside, all right. Now the voltage rating is 48 volts, okay, for the controller, and the current rating is 50 amperes and 45 amperes. So when it comes to high torque, and it is 45 amperes, and say the normal range, it is say 50 amperes. So high torque is all about, when it comes to going uphill, or say driving on inclines, when the say other gear would be selected for more pulling power. And power rating is 1000 watts, all right. Let's move ahead. Now we can talk about the BLDC motor. So you can just check out where exactly is the BLDC motor located. It's along with the transaxle. So you gotta basically like bend low, go under the vehicle, and like stick your head from the side of the tire, and ultimately you will end up checking out the BLDC motor. So that's where it is located. I just mentioned it's the 3-phase BLDC motor, okay. So it is like powered by AC current. So BLDC stands for brushless DC motor, all right. So brushless means the maintenance would be on the lower side. That is why it is more preferred, all right. I think these numbers we did check out, like what the max power, that is like 1000 watts. Then current, so when there's like no load condition, it is like 3.5 amps. And when it comes to peak current conditions, for the normal e-alfa mini, it is 50 amperes, and the e-alfa mini with the high torque option, that is like 45 amperes, all right. So that's what it's all about. So now let's check out the location of transaxle, where exactly it is located. So where is the BLDC motor connected? It is like connected to the transaxle only, all right. So when you stick your head underneath the vehicle, you can check out the transaxle as well on the rear axle, all right. So you also have the oil filler plug access, from underneath the seat. So what you need to do is like lift this seat up, and you'll have access for the oil filler plug, all right. So which fluid we have for the transaxle? It's Maximile Elite, all right, and the grade is ATW90 GL05, okay. And for the normal e-alfa mini, the oil capacity is 100 ml, and for the high torque variant, the oil capacity is 150 ml, all right. So that was about the transaxle discussion. Now you must have observed one more thing, that I had mentioned that we have two variants available for the e-alfa mini, the normal and the high torque variant. So now you can check out this lever over here, that's the high end torque lever. So when it comes to making use of more pulling power, so you need to change the gear. So you pull this lever, and a gear change would happen, all right. So that means like the 21:1 ratio becomes applicable. So you have more torque, all right. The wheel end torque, that is 78.2 Newton meters for the high torque option. So in the normal variant, if you're going to be checking out like, all right, I don't find this lever, it is not going to be there, all right. So you need to be aware of it, that there are two variants. So the torque values are totally different, all right. And the high-end torque transaxle linkage, okay, it's operated through cable. So when you pull this lever, it basically like, there's a cable which ultimately does like the pulling, and that's how like the gear would say change, all right. So let's move ahead. Now we can talk about the suspension and steering, all right. Steering, you can check out how it looks like, okay. And suspension, for the front and the rear, it's in front of you. So you have a shock absorber with new designed coil spring, okay, and for the rear you have leaf springs, all right, with the stabilizer link. So how many leaves are there? There are 4 leaves, all right, which are available. Interesting thing over here is the stabilizer link part. So stabilizer links act as what? They act as components of auto suspensions, all right, we are aware of that obviously. Then they connect several other parts that take up much of the road shocks, all right, as you drive over potholes and other road imperfections. So I kept mentioning, now we are talking about an electric rickshaw for Indian conditions. So when it comes to Indian conditions, you can't actually talk about, like, you know, the roads in the city. The person could be driving anywhere. So there could be small towns where the road condition is not that good. So obviously when it comes to having good suspension for the vehicle, we have it in the e-alfa mini. All right. The stabilizer bar, say, holds pairs of wheels connected, while stabilizer links hook this larger piece with arms that go up to the wheels themselves. All right. It's, in short, you're going to be having, say, more comfort. And when it comes to, say, driving or, say, taking high speed means, like, you know, max speed is 25, and if you're going to taking turns at that speed also, like, the vehicle handles pretty much tight, all right, that is what I would say. Okay, your suspension is refined to a larger extent because of the stabilizer link which is available. So most of the competitor vehicles, they would not have these kind of features in their rickshaw, all right. So which makes the Alpha Mini a lot more stable and safe and comfortable. And we can talk about the brakes, okay, like what is the format of the front brakes and the rear brakes. So you have drum brakes for the front, internally expandable type, and you have drum brakes for the rear. So for the rear, the brakes which we have, that is foot operated, okay, like anyways, there would be a cable which does the working for you, or it's a mechanical brake. So both these brakes are internally expandable type. All right, let's move ahead. Now we have the electric rickshaw. It's having the VMS system, all right, so the voice message system, we can say. So you have the VMS switch, okay, in the vehicle. Okay, this is where it is located. All right, so you need to switch it on, okay, you need to put the switch in the on position to start getting voice messages, all right. And your VMS speaker is located at the rear portion of the vehicle, all right. So this is how it looks like. So that's from where you get the voice messages. Now we have different kind of messages which the person could actually, like, come across, which he could encounter. So if it's the high speed voice message, that means what? High speed switch is pressed, all right. If it is like the low speed voice message which, say, comes, that means the say low speed switch is pressed, all right. Then if it is the medium speed voice message, that means the medium speed switch would be pressed. You know, it's like pretty much self-explanatory, I would say. Then if the person puts the car in the, or puts the e-rickshaw in the reverse position by selecting the R switch, it says, all right, reverse button pressed, right. So when the vehicle is switched on, you get the welcome message. When it's switched off, you get thank you message, all right. It's like pretty much polite, okay. And then when the battery is low, like, you would get a low battery indication message. So like that happens when the voltage is less than 42 volts, all right. And if you get the motor message, that means your BLDC motor is faulty. So it's just like throwing some hints, all right, like this is where you need to look at so when you take it to the dealership or anybody, first of all, the person who's going to be driving this vehicle, these messages are like actually not for him, okay. When it comes to the pressing the buttons, he can actually make use of it, but when it comes to like whether the motor is faulty or the sensor is faulty or like whether the controller is faulty, who's going to be making use of it? The guy who's in the dealership, okay. It's for them. So you have all these messages, all right. I'm not going to read out everything now, so we'll be sharing this material anyways, okay. So let's move ahead. So I just mentioned, like, your VMS speaker is located at the rear portion of the vehicle. So you lift the seat and you can check it out, all right, and you also have the tool kit, okay, over here. So lift the rear seat up and you can see this tool kit, okay. So you're gonna have the mechanical and electrical kit inside, all right. So once you have your tools, what you can do with it, you can play around. Simply, if you want to take out your spare wheel, or if you want to change your wheel, so you can do all those activities, okay. So let's move ahead. So you can see the spare wheel also. Where is the spare wheel? Spare wheel also is located in this particular chamber over here, right? Like where you have like the tool kit, okay. Let's move ahead. Now we can check out service support related stuff, okay. Service support, which basically we'll be talking about like the spare parts, like from whom we procure what. So vehicle parts, 237 parts supplied by M&M, okay, SPD Hyderabad, all right. So which includes Runtex made. The battery is coming from Amaron, okay, which is like, you know, one of the biggest name in the industry. Then the tires, they're going to be supplied by Seat. So Seat tires, Born Tough, you know, we've seen all those ads. So it's again pretty much reliable, all right. You also have the PDF parts catalog, which is available, say, on TechNet website. So you can log into TechNet and, you know, download this and, you know, check out interesting information. So let's move ahead. Now we can talk about warranty and free service. So standard warranty is 1 year from the date of retail sale to customer. So it's like, you can say extended warranty also like would be available. So if you look at, say, the press release, it mentions about 2 years vehicle warranty, but they're talking about, you know, when it comes to certain finance schemes, okay, like it comes with like a star mark. So battery warranty is like 9 months from the date of manufacture, okay, of the battery, or 6 months from the date of sale of vehicle, whichever is earlier. And tire warranty is 6 months or 15,000 kilometers, all right. So you have 6 free services, all right. So first service, the person needs to take it to the dealership at 1,000 kilometers. Second service would happen at 4,000 kilometers. Then every 4,000 kilometers, you can say there is like a pattern, all right, which ensues. So sixth service would happen at 20,000 kilometers. Okay, the down payment is going to be very low, and like the EMI has been kept very, very attractive, and all these things we came across yesterday. So you can just check it out, okay. So they are also saying like it's having, say, 1 free battery replacement, which is an industry first. All right, now let's look at the distributor structure. I would say you focus on this particular slide and just go through the points which is out there. Who is the distributor? He is obviously M&M authorized dealer. So mostly, okay, like he's M&M dealer. So what does he look after? He is gonna take care of, say, the stockyard, the PDI, sale and service, then, you know, spare parts supplied to the retailer. So the distributor has several retailers under him to whom he supplies the parts. So now the retailers are the guys who would provide the sales and service, you can say, okay. So, and the name of the retailers, like they could keep changing. So like we not put any names over here, all right. So anyways, you can just go through, okay. So we also have like the e-Mitra logo put, so which is like, you know, the helping hand which is provided. So let's move ahead. Now we can check out the information related to battery service. When it comes to battery water level inspection, so what all you need to do before you do that, you need to turn off the vehicle and remove the key. That is step number 1. Then after that, you remove 60 amps maxi fuses, all right, which is out there in the battery box, all right. After that, like you would open the battery vent cover, okay. So once you are done opening the battery vent cover, water needs to be filled. Now water level needs to be, say, 1.25 inches level below the vent hole opening, okay. So like all these are would come under the standard SOPs, we can say, which you need to follow. Then after that, once you're done filling the distilled water, you can close the battery vent cover. All right. What's important is either you check your water level, battery water level once every 2 weeks, or you check it every say 400 or 500 kilometers. So that is one thing which like the drivers need to be aware of. Then they need to make sure that they put gloves, okay, and like either they are checking or refilling say the distilled water in the battery. Gloves are mandatory because safety can never be compromised. And then they need to also make sure that they wash hands properly after doing the battery inspection. Okay, so the pretty much standard practice which the industry follows, that's what is happening here as well. Then when it comes to battery installation and general maintenance, what you need to ensure is like whether the battery is fitted firmly in the battery cradle or not. That is one thing. Then whether the terminals are brushed, okay, that needs to be checked out. When it comes to maintaining, these are the most important key points. All right, so they need to take a brush and like brush the terminals and ensure that it's as clean as possible. And after that, when it comes to battery service, they need to coat like the terminals with what? With petroleum jelly. So we put the picture over here how your petroleum jelly box looks like. So grease is not allowed. Okay, so grease is not allowed. So let's ensure that it's petroleum jelly which you're using for say coating the terminals. All right, and then after that, once you're done with all that, you need to ensure your battery top should be clean and dry. Okay, and you also have to ensure that you install only recommended amps battery. So 48 volts should be like the numbers which should match up when it comes to like 4 batteries when you connect in series. All right, so that's it. Let's check out the maintenance schedule now. You can go through the manuals. In the manuals, all this information will be made available anyways. At every service interval, what is happening is you are replacing your gear oil. Okay, so be it the first service or second service or like every 4,000 kilometers, your gear oil gets replaced, and then your battery terminal that gets lubricated. So this is like the norm. Anytime the vehicle goes for service, at the service station they would ensure these things are done anyways. All right, and then the brake adjustment and all, which is just like hygiene, we can say. Any service you take the vehicle, that is anyways bound to happen. All right, and like obviously the road test is another parameter which needs to be done when it comes to anybody handling